And good morning. It's 10 o'clock. Welcome to Lincoln Ware Live. We're here every Sunday morning from 10 until 11. And we've got an exciting show for you today, as we do every Sunday morning. Today, we're going to talk about sexual predators on the internet. Oh, boy, they're everywhere. We'll talk to Charlene Morton and Dave Ausdenmoore from the Cincinnati Police Department on how you can prevent your children from becoming victims of these sexual predators on the internet. Then on the second half of the show, my good friend, attorney Lisa K. Crawford will be in here with some free legal advice. You don't get free legal advice that often, so you better take advantage of it coming up on the second half of the show today. And we'll start off the show. Welcome to the show, by the way. Now, what is it that you do for the Cincinnati Police Department when it comes to internet sexual predators?
Well, I'm with the Personal Crimes Unit, which is part of the Criminal Investigation Section, and primarily our job is to investigate all sexual assaults that occur within the city, and we also investigate all child abuse cases. And when there's ever an incident where a child or a young adult is lured away basically from their homes as a result of meeting someone over the internet, 9 times out of 10 that involves some type of a sexual assault that occurs upon them, and we follow up on that. Obviously, if we know at that time that there is a computer that's involved, then we call on Officer Ausdenmoore here and his unit of expert people that go and delve into that computer to find out.
Now, you track down who they last talked to on the computer and things like that.
Charlene, you're used to calling me Oz. I am also a Cincinnati Police Specialist. I am assigned to Criminal Investigation Section, but detailed permanently to the Regional Electronics and Computer Investigations Unit that is a joint unit between the Hamilton County Sheriff's Office and the Cincinnati Police Department.
Okay.
We are a 4-officer unit. We provide full forensic capabilities in terms of getting into cell phones, computers, PDAs, electronic devices, digital cameras, that kind of thing. We have 2 full-time investigators that assist officers like Charlene with tracking IP addresses, obtaining who owns a cell phone number or a website or something like that, and actually do the online undercover investigation.
Now, are you also involved in if someone is, say, missing and you find their cell phone? Can you find where if the cell phone is on, can you track the cell phone?
Unfortunately, in electronics, the answer to that is that depends. If your cell phone is GPS equipped, we can narrow that cell phone to about 3 meters, 10 feet. If it is not GPS equipped, we can still locate that cell phone to within a pie-shaped triangle of maybe, we can get within half a mile, maybe a mile of where that phone is. If the phone is moving and we can get the cell phone company on board with us quickly enough, we can track the movements of that cell phone, and that gives us a better shot at finding the cell phone.
Now,
And you also want to make sure that that cell phone is on.
Right.
I mean, that's the key part. Keep the cell phone on.
so if someone's, say, kidnapped by one of these sexual predators, if they have a cell phone, try to make sure you keep it hidden away and on.
Correct.
Okay. Now, there's not a prototype of these sexual predators on the internet. They come in all shapes, sizes, and colors. Now, are you finding more women that's getting into this sexual predator thing than men, or?
Do you mean it's the women as being the
predators, yeah.
I have to say, at least from my standpoint, we haven't seen that here, at least not here locally. Is it a possibility that it is something that's growing nationally? That's yes, probably,
Really?
but not in our general area.
Okay.
We haven't come across that, and I don't know. I mean, obviously Dave can speak for the county area, but
Yeah, I'd have to share that, primarily men. And actually, I guess the one thing that surprises me is that I would have thought this to be a middle income or higher problem. It is not. The perpetrators are all over the socioeconomic
Really? Yeah.
spectrum.
yes.
Yeah, I mean, you watch the programs on TV like Dateline, you just see all types of people coming in there for those stings. And it's got to be a real sickness because these guys, a lot of them say, yeah, I saw the program, but they still make contact with these who they think are teenagers on the internet and still show up, even though they've seen people get caught that way.
Absolutely they do.
Right.
Now, we'll take your calls at 513-381-3838 if you've got questions. We'll take a quick break and we'll come back and we'll give you a chance to chime in with this, 513-381-3838. And when we come back, I want to find out, what do you look for when you think your child is talking to one of these sexual predators? Do they, get off the computer real quick when you come in the room, or what? We'll be back and talk about that when we return. Lincoln Ware Live. We're back live. Lincoln Ware Live is the program. We're talking about sexual predators on the internet this morning, 513-381-3838. How you can find out if your child maybe is talking to one of these predators. What do you look for in your children when you think they may be talking to somebody they don't need to be talking to on the internet?
That's problematic. Parents need to learn, well, actually, probably the best thing a parent can do is move the computer into a common area of the house, get it out of the bedroom and get it into the kitchen, get it into the family room, get it somewhere where there's a parent around. Certainly, if your child changes the screen as soon as you walk in the room, that's a clue. You need to learn the language that the kids speak on in chat rooms. Just like on cell phones, they use, WTF and POS and all of those things. Well, POS is parent over shoulder, and that clues everybody in the room that I'm being monitored. So everybody cleans up their act. You need to learn the language. You need to look at your kid's computer. You can download software that will show you a thumbnail image of every picture file that's on your hard drive. But you need to set aside an hour once a week to do that.
And how do they get that software?
You can download it. You can do a Google search for thumbnail viewer. A lot of these programs are free. You can just, and recommending one over another is absurd. They all work just about as well as the next one. But you have to do that. We bring the computers into the house, and it's incumbent upon, the state of Ohio and parents are required to give kids 60 or 70 hours of training before we let them drive a car. But we buy them a computer, which might cost as much as their first car did, and just give it to them and say, have a great time.
Go
Okay, yeah.
And we never check on them.
And we never check on them, and that's problematic. We've got to do that.
All right, let's go to the telephones. Let's hear what the viewers have to say. Let's start off with John. John, good morning. You're on Lincoln Ware Live. How you doing?
Good morning. I'm doing good. Say hello to your guest. I just had a quick question as far as with most of this coming from instant messaging as far as the stings. Have you guys adjusted to the new popularity with MySpace and I believe the other one's Facebook? Have you guys been able to find sexual predators throughout that website?
Okay, at least in our shop on the regional level, we have MySpace accounts, we have Facebook accounts, we have Zanga accounts, we belong to all of the, pretty much at least all I know of the personal websites that are out there. LiveJournal is another very popular personal website. We actually, when we create an undercover identity, we'll create a site like that so that while we're chatting, we can give somebody our personal website so they can go read about us, and it lends credibility to the undercover identity that we've created. Are there actual occurrences? Yes. Are they happening through MySpace and Facebook? Probably. We're there, but working an undercover operation is difficult. We can't target somebody. We have to let them come to us. So we haven't had an occurrence where it started through a personal website, but we have had many occurrences where they're checking our personal websites to make sure that we're real kids.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, thanks. So how do you, I guess you have to know what these predators look for, and you get on there, when you set your stings up, you get on there and just...
Actually, we just become a typical 14-year-old guy or girl.
Yeah.
And, we're very shy. We're very, we're just average. We try to be an average 14, 15, 14, 13-year-old kid. We don't know what's going on.
How does that work on your mind, your psyche? You have to become this 13 or 14-year-old kid. How does that mess with your mind?
I have to admit, it was easier when I had kids who were 13 or 14, so I was exposed
to the lingo and all that.
Everything else. I am kind of away from, I do mostly forensics all the time now. But our undercover officers do have kids in that age range, and they learn the language, and they're out there doing it.
It would be pretty difficult to all of a sudden become a teenager. Tiara, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. Hello to you and your guests. I had kind of a question and statement. In no way am I condoning of sex offenders. The true sex offenders are sick people. But I wanted to know, what are you going to do about the young girls who are constantly, not the police officers who are acting like they're young children, the young girls who are constantly online, who know what they're doing, who's constantly getting tied up with these older men who lie about their age, getting them caught up in the system, and they're going to jail and getting the sex offender put on them because of this young girl who is constantly, over and over again, got online or went out to clubs or whatever she had to do to meet a grown man. What are we going to do about these girls? I think if you work on both ends of the factor and help these girls who are sick, these young girls who are definitely looking for love, a father, or some sort of...
and an older man, and they lie about their age.
Yeah, what are you going to do about these men who are getting caught up and becoming sex offenders?
Okay, that's a good...
Because of this.
That's a good question. Hang up and listen to the answer. Thanks for your call. Appreciate it. What about that?
Part of it is going to fall back, and you hate to always use that, but it falls back on the parent, and the parent being able to recognize that there is a problem there and addressing that problem. Maybe this young girl needs counseling, and we shouldn't be afraid of that. We shouldn't be afraid to use the resources like Job and Family Services or 241 Kids, or Children's Hospital has great programs also that they run through their social services. You know, if you've got a child that's acting out like that, that is being very sexually promiscuous and stuff like that, then that's someone that needs help. They're reaching out, like the lady said, they're looking for affection, they're looking for a father figure. Well, we need to address that problem of why that child is doing that. And maybe if we can address that problem, then of course we stop these other problems from happening. So that's first and foremost, is we've got to address that. We've got to reach out to these children in whatever form or fashion that takes.
And she's saying that the guys that get caught up in this, who they'll go to court and say, well, I didn't know she told me she was older. I
Right.
didn't know. What happens to them, you know?
Well, unfortunately, you know, the law is the law,
Yeah.
you know, and they get caught up in it. But you know, there's also that responsibility on them. You know, whenever we get a guy that's, you know, we catch them and it's a case of they're being charged with unlawful sexual conduct with a minor, we tell them, you know, you need to find out about this person. You know, you need to take that responsibility
Ask
on.
for my ID, you know?
Exactly. That doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt. I mean, if you're really interested in this person, then you'll make that extra step, and it saves you from getting caught up in being charged with a crime.
All right, let's take a quick break, and we'll come right back. Lincoln Ware Live is a program. Coming up on the second half of the show, attorney Lisa K. Crawford in here to give you some free legal advice. We'll talk to her on the second half of the show. We'll take a quick break and we'll come back and talk about more sexual predators on the internet right here on Lincoln Ware Live. We'll take a break and we'll return in just one moment. We're back live. Lincoln Ware Live is the program. We're talking about sexual predators on the internet. And we've got Charlene Morton and Dave Ausdenmoore with us. And we're talking, hey, sexual predators. And we're taking your calls also. So let's get right to the phones. Let's go to Shay. Shay, you have a question for my guest.
Yes, I do, Lincoln.
Yes.
I had an unusual situation happen with my daughter. She has a cell phone, so it goes beyond just the internet. She was upstairs in her room with her friend, and they called a 14-year-old young man who's a friend of theirs. And he puts his 18-year-old brother on the phone. And he developed a over-the-phone relationship with my daughter, and I didn't find out until 3 days later. And she asked me, could she go out with him? And I said, how old is he? She said, 18. She said, well, you know, I like older guys because the ones in my age group are too immature. I said, well, honey, you don't know anything about him, and to me, he's a sexual predator. He needs to quit calling you. He became serious about her. She became overly serious about him. She was crying. When I told her she had to break this relationship off, I told him to never call my house again, and I almost had to take her to a psychologist, and she was that serious. She was hurt. So how do you monitor something like that with these cell phones? You don't know who they're talking to.
It's very true. You don't know who they're talking to, but okay, I've got three teenagers, young adults that are now in college or older. I can tell you they didn't get their cell phones until they were 18. That's just was a policy in our family. I know it's easier for them to have a cell phone so they can call you, you can find out where they are, and I understand all of that, but keep the cell phone right next to the computer. They can use the house phone if they want to talk from the house, and they can leave the cell phone right by your car keys. Take it with them when they go to school or when they're going out to the football game or whatever. Don't have, and this is something that a lot of parents don't understand. If you go to your cellular service provider, you can have them turn off the ability to text message with a cell phone. Right. They can do that. They don't want to because that's a big money maker for the service provider. But if you threaten to take your contract to a different service provider, they will, in fact, turn off text messaging. My older kids, and actually we've got, I guess, 4 cell phones in the family. None of them can text message, send or receive. That's just the way we are. Maybe that's, okay, yeah, I'm a
That's all
cop.
they do.
Okay,
They don't talk anymore. They
that's
just
it. They just text message.
Right.
Okay, well, yeah, I'm a cop and I'm mean. I guess that cuts me that way, but that was just a policy we set in our house. That's before the fact. After the fact, it sounds to me like you're doing exactly what you need to do to take care of your daughter and protect her from a guy who really probably shouldn't be
So
hanging out with her.
where does it stand now? I mean, is he still calling?
No, he downloaded a song to her cell phone. It's so hard to say goodbye to yesterday. Friends. And I told him that I was going to turn him in if he called my house again. What I do now when her friends come, I have them put cell phones on the table, or if they take them or if they're in the car, they're not allowed to answer their cell phone unless it's their mom calling.
There you go. Great.
This guy's
Great
real
rule.
crappy, though. He had the right song, I have to admit. He's real smart, so you better watch that guy.
Yes, I will.
Yeah, that guy, he downloads, it's so hard to say.
That's great.
Gee,
It's so hard to say goodbye.
man.
She makes a good point in that cell phones, and a lot of parents don't realize, we've always talked about the computer and the chat lines
Right,
through the
the
computer
cell phone.
and everything. Now the latest thing is cell phones.
Yeah,
There are
text.
cell phone chat lines out there that the kids, your kid does not need a computer anymore because the technology is so that, I mean, with my cell phone, I can get access to the internet right through my cell phone if I want
Right,
to.
yes.
And we've got cases now that we've had where the person has met the other person through a cell phone chat line. So parents need to be aware of that. You've got to stay one step ahead of the technology or you're going to be lost.
Now, can you give the website address so they can download this software to get the...
My best recommendation would be to go to google.com and search for Thumbnail Viewer. There's another program out there that I think is freely downloadable called Presearch, Presearch. That was actually developed by law enforcement a long time ago, by a long time in technology standards in the late 90s, and is able to show you a thumbnail of every JPEG, JPG format, GIF format, and there's one other, BMP, a bitmap.
Now, have you heard of
image.
HCSO.org?
That's HCSO.org is the Hamilton County Sheriff's Office webpage. You can actually link directly to our unit, RECE, the Regional Electronics and Computer Investigations Unit from there.
Okay, all right, we got time for maybe one more call. Let's go to Melody. Melody, how are you?
I'm good today. How are you?
Pretty good.
2 things. First, I think her name was Tiara. I'm shocked and I'm surprised that even today we still have, especially women, offering up excuses for these guys. You can't tell me you don't know how old that little girl is. I don't care if you say, well, she has the body of a full-grown woman or something like that. When that child opens her mouth, you know her age. And there's still no excuse. You are an adult. If you can't control your body, then that's on you. You need to pay.
Yeah, there's got to be some telltale signs to let you know how old, even though she might have the body of a 20-year-old, but you can just tell by the way they talk, I guess, huh? What do you think?
Exactly. I really and truly believe, when words come out of her mouth, you know immediately. They don't want to control themselves, and they see these girls as easy targets. And it's time that people stop standing up for these guys. There's no, you got caught up, she lied about her age or something like that. If you are not smart enough to see these so-called traps and avoid them, then you obviously aren't smart enough to have sex, and that should just, you should avoid the whole issue altogether.
Charlene,
I agree with you, but understand also that these guys aren't interested in talking to these girls. They don't want to listen to, all they're thinking about is one thing and one thing only, and if they can get that, fine, that's what they want. You know, like you
Exactly,
said,
and that's
if they take
all
the
they
time to
want.
talk to them, yes, they would find out, but they don't.
And they need
don't.
to stop defending these guys' actions. They really and truly need to stop defending these guys' actions. And is there a way that you guys can post, I guess, their pictures and their the addresses of guys that do this stuff? You know, because a lot of judges let them out. Is there a way that you guys can post it in the newspaper, embarrass the crap out of them? You know, let their families know what they're doing. That's one way, I guess, to maybe curb some of their behavior, or at least warn the community in general.
Yeah. Unfortunately, other than if they get convicted and they're labeled a sex offender, you know, there's no way of us putting that information out there publicly for them. So we've got to get that conviction.
Okay,
and keep your eyes and ears open.
absolutely.
That's about the best thing you can do.
Well, as a parent, you have to do that. And like, I agree with the police detective. If you don't know what your child is doing, texting and things like that, they don't need a cell phone.
Right.
You know, you as parent, you are cardinal law. Your rules roast, and you're not there to be your child's friend. You're not there, oh, my child is going to be angry with me, my child's not going to love me. That's not your job, and that shouldn't be your position. Your position is to raise healthy, happy individuals that will leave this world better, you know, because of the person that they are, not that you want them to be your friend and all this other good stuff.
Melody, thanks for your call.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, she makes a pretty good point. Charlene, Morton, Dave, Ausdenmoore, you've been a great help this morning. Hopefully some parents will watch you and say, hey, I'm going to do exactly what they said, and I'm going to keep track of my kid and look out for those signs while they're on the computer.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Is there any way people can reach you if they need to maybe talk to you about something?
They can contact me through criminal investigation section at 352-3542. Just ask to speak with Detective Morton.
All right.
The same way they can reach me through criminal investigation section, same phone number, 352-3542. And my email address is at the Reese site off of hcso.org.
All right. Thank you for joining me this morning.
Thank you for having
Appreciate
us.
it. Appreciate it. We'll take a quick break and we'll come back. Attorney Lisa K. Crawford, free legal advice on a Sunday morning. How often do you get free legal advice? Normally, you get charged for stuff like that. But we're giving it to you free this morning. Coming up next on Lincoln Ware Live. Back in a moment. Ware Live is a program, and you heard of Regis and Kelly? Lincoln and Lisa this morning. How about that?
That's right, good morning.
Lisa K. Crawford, my guest, and going to give out some free legal advice or whatever. We'll give out just any kind of advice, you know, even maybe some love advice if somebody has any. I'm sure you're an expert at that. Tell me, somebody called me on the show maybe a few weeks ago. A police officer had interviewed their child and took a statement, and they ended up using it against them in court. What if your child gets in trouble, and should they talk to the police, or what should they do? Should they say, well, I need to see my parents before I'm answering any questions?
Well,
What should a child do?
I don't think children should. I think parents need to let their children know that anytime the police come to your school to talk with you, if they come to the home when neither parent is there, then tell them that you need to wait until your parent gets there to talk with them, or you're not comfortable giving a statement until that time, because what happens is that police do approach children, and parents ask me all the time, can they do that? Well, under Ohio law, they can go and talk to your children, and they treat them like adults in that respect. They Mirandize them, tell them they have the right to remain silent, anything can and will be. But if adults don't understand that, then how do you expect the children will truly understand? They're going to be more intimidated dealing with law enforcement.
Okay, so if there's trouble and a cop comes to the house or to school, wants to interview, tell the kids to say, wait till my parents.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's the safest thing to do, because those statements will be used against you. Now, I have a case where it was a principal at a school had a child write out a statement that then the principal turned around and turned over to the police. And in that case, my argument is that that principal became an officer on behalf of an agent on behalf of the police, and therefore that child was subject to Miranda rights still, and since they weren't given, so that remains to be tested in court.
So,
but yes,
what was the verdict on that? I mean, it is over or ongoing now?
it's pending.
Okay, it's pending.
It's
That's a
pending.
good point. You make a good point.
Yeah.
The principal did become sort of like a police officer.
Yeah, an
Got a
agent.
statement? Give me your written statement.
And the first thing, as soon as the police officer came to the school, what did he do with that statement?
This is the statement.
Exactly.
Unbelievable.
That's exactly what happened.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
All right, Lisa K. Crawford on the case. Let's go to Tamika. Tamika, how are you?
Hi, how you doing today?
Pretty good.
Good. This is a personal question. I had a slip and fall at the Justice Center, and there were no signs up or anything. I mean, there's a big, like, puddle of water on the floor, I'm assuming it was. And I'm a heavy woman. I hit my leg and bruised my kneecap, and I just wanted to know, do I have some type of case for, like, negligence or pain and suffering or something like that?
Tamika, was it open and obvious?
Yes, it was.
So, in other words, it was clearly visible to anybody who walked in that area. They could see this was a puddle of
Correct.
water. Right. Generally, when dangers are open and obvious that they can be easily observed by a person, the courts generally tend to find that there is no liability for open and obvious dangers.
Okay.
But that does not mean that you shouldn't consult with an attorney with regard to the issue of liability. I would still do that, so I think you should. How long ago did that happen?
This happened like maybe 2 weeks ago.
Okay, so it's still a pretty fresh claim.
Yes, and I'm still going back and forth to my doctor.
Right. That doesn't mean that maybe the Hamilton County will not address the issue of liability for your injuries, but
Actually, they are paying my doctor's bill, so they know
Okay.
that there was some type of, problem, and 2 COs were sitting right there when I fell,
okay, well,
for
see,
witnesses and everything, so.
right. I think a lot of times they rather negotiate a settlement with you than litigate the issue anyway.
Okay.
But I'm just letting you know that there are certain legal standards. It's like when we're going to have snow, hopefully not too soon, Lincoln, but we're getting into that season.
And if you don't shovel your driveway and somebody falls,
You got to be careful about things like that on your property, but there have been circumstances too where there are big snow mounds and things like that. If the dangers are open and obvious, the courts have ruled against parties. So
Okay.
just keep that in mind.
All right, thank you very much.
Okay.
hey, thanks for your call.
Okay, thank you.
All right, 513-381-3838. Let's go to another caller. Jose. Jose, how you doing?
Hey, how you doing, Mr. Ware?
Pretty good.
Hey, listen, I got a small question for your counselor. If I got a payee and I'm trying to pay child support, but they won't give me my money, what should I do? And I'm trying to pay child support, and I'm on disability, and my wife don't want to take me to court, to go through the courts to pay child support, but she wants me to give her some money for my child. My child's 11 years old, and I got to pay. What should I do to get to them people to get my money to give her some form of support so I can keep from going to jail? To save face from going to jail and what have you.
Well, I think the first thing to do is to change the payee, find out what the procedures are to.
Because it's through court behavior, but go ahead.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
I didn't hear that last part you said.
It's through court. It's through a company called Court.
Okay, you need to find out the procedures to change the payee, because if you have a duty to support your children, obviously, your child or children, and if you cannot fulfill that duty,
Right.
then you need to find out what's getting in the way, because you could get in trouble legally, you could face contempt in the civil court, you could face non-supportive dependents, I'm sorry, I'm so used to dealing with dependents, and non-supportive dependents, that is, in criminal court, which is, a felony.
Right.
So change the payee, find out those procedures if they're not releasing the money. Or one other thing you could do is set up an account so that you have direct deduction from whatever this payee account is,
Right.
so that the money automatically comes out of that account for child support.
Right.
You'll never see it. It'll just go ahead and pay your child support obligation. If you don't have a child support order, then you obviously have to work out something so you can get your hands on that money to give it to the obligee, which is the mother of the child.
Oh, okay.
All right.
All right, thank you.
Thanks for your call. And as I always say, it's cheaper to keep her. Let's go to Dee. Dee, good morning. How are you?
I'm good. How about you guys?
Pretty
Good morning.
Okay, Doug, I got so many questions, but I ain't going to even do that to you this here Sunday morning. But I am calling in regards to my son who was kind of involved in what they call a drive-by. In fact, we thought it was a robbery because his, gold chain ended up missing and things of that nature. But this happened like the 1st of July, and already they've closed the case. Is it normal for them to not notify the person, the victim, if they're closing the case? And when myself and my husband has been kind of calling in little bits of information, we then later found out that this particular detective's not on the case anymore.
Now, did they assign you a victim's advocate when this first happened?
Yeah, well,
Okay.
yeah, this is my son. My son is actually 22 years old, so of course they were kind of, it's like, well, he's an adult, and I'm like, yeah, I know, but that's my son,
Right.
So,
Well, normally the victim's advocate will keep you abreast of what's going on with the case, and that's somebody you can call directly, and
Right.
they'll answer your questions, and they'll tell you, the status of the case. Is that correct?
yeah, I found out that it was closed.
Yeah, that's
I couldn't
true.
believe that it was closed, and I also, I did with another detective who was actually supposed to get back with me.
Well, that doesn't sound proper not to notify you or give you some indication as to the status of the case. I think the burden is on both ends to keep the other party apprised at all times the status of the case. But that's why, as a citizen, you do have to check regularly because sometimes
Yeah, it
cases.
seems to be pretty common.
What'd you say?
So what now?
It seems to be pretty common that they close the case if they don't have, any leads or things of that nature when it comes. I mean, I guess because it wasn't severe, the severity of the shooting, wasn't really severe, so.
And no one was killed?
No,
Okay.
no.
Right.
All right, well, thanks for your call. Yeah, you need to, stay in tune with it.
Right.
But like you said, they've got so many cases
Right.
out there to the ones that they can just close if no one's killed or I guess anything. They'll just.
But it doesn't minimize
Yeah.
the importance of the case, and I think that's the point that she's making. And I would maybe write a letter and complain officially and say I didn't like the way I was treated, and sometimes that goes a long way.
All right, let's take a quick break and we'll come back. Lisa K. Crawford, attorney at law, is my guest, and she'll give you her phone number in case you need to talk to her a little bit later on. But let's take a quick break and we'll come back and take more of your calls right here on Lincoln Ware Live. Back in a moment. We're back live. Lincoln Ware Live is the program. Lisa K. Crawford, attorney at law, is my guest this morning. Sometimes she fills in for me, and she does a great job. By the way, thanks for filling in when I'm away, Lisa.
Oh, I like being here. So we're changing the show name. Was that Lincoln and Lisa?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, you like that?
I like that.
As long as the Lincoln gets the top bill.
Well, of course.
Okay, all right. Now, tell me, I hear a lot of people talk about stalking cases. They're being stalked by their ex-boyfriend or their ex-husband or this and that. Do you get a lot of those cases?
Well, I definitely deal with those type of cases, and they start off civil in nature. In other words, you file for a civil protection order, and if a person violates that order, then there are criminal ramifications, and they could be charged with violation of a civil protection order, which is then a criminal case. Okay. And there are times in a divorce case where the party who files for divorce may feel intimidated by their other spouse, and so there are cases when that has to be done, and even civilly, when somebody's following you or, to work every day or calling you all the time. Telephone harassment. There is usually because of the stalking and or domestic violence. As to the reasons when the court will give those type of protection orders.
Now, the other day, a lady was driving over to her daughter's house, and she saw these guys running out with masks on, and she figured they had broken into her daughter's house, and so she ran one of them down with her van. And they're still wondering if they should charge her or not. What do you think? In a case like that, she knew they had broken into her daughter's house, they had masks on running out, and she followed them and ran one of them over. Should she be charged for something like that?
Hecky no.
I know.
I'm trying to be.
I love that stuff.
I'm trying to be as professional as I can, but hecky no.
And they need to do more. I
They
mean,
need to just leave
I don't
her
want to
alone.
advocate any violence, but at some point, these guys that are breaking in, robbing people, they got to be taught a lesson.
It needs to desist immediately. And you know, I heard you one week talking about vigilante justice, but you know what? If we're really going to solve crime, sometimes it's gonna call for people to stand up and confront it head on like that. And in this case, she wasn't trying to run anybody down, but she was simply trying to stop the attacker from being able to get away so that they could be brought to justice. And what's wrong with that?
Okay, sounds like you're
Sounds
in
like an
court.
defense
You would use
attorney.
that in court,
Of
wouldn't
course,
you? Yeah.
of course.
She was just trying to, yeah, right. Let's go to Regina. Regina, these defense attorneys are unbelievable. How you doing, Regina?
Good morning, Lincoln, and good morning, Attorney Crawford.
Good morning.
My son, who's on home incarceration, he has a probation officer that tends to I don't know, she goes out of her way to harass him. For the third time in 4 months, she's told him he has to stay in for a whole week, 7 days, just because she can do that. Now, is there any complaint form that he can file to get another probation officer or to stop this harassment?
It's like the probation officers are becoming the judges, so to speak.
Yes,
So, yeah, how does she combat that? We'll hang up and you listen to the answer. Thanks for your call.
I mean, basically, they do kind of take over your life after you've been sentenced, and you have to abide by all these rules, but it really depends on what the conditions of the probation were. For instance, if the individual was told that the only time you can go out is when you have a job, and say if this person is not working, then
He can't go out.
Then he
Now,
can't go out.
As long as he does not violate any stipulations concerning the probation, there's nothing the probation officer should be able to add on or tell him he can't do this. You know, and what if that probation officer does that? Then what's the recourse?
Okay, and the recourse for this lady is to maybe talk to the supervisor or the person who's over the probation department and tell them that you feel, or your son feels, that there is some bias or prejudice on the part of this probation officer, and they would like to have someone else assigned to the case because they feel harassed, especially if he's meeting all the general conditions of probation. So you have the probation conditions and you have the court conditions that you also have to abide by. So if you're doing all that,
Then she should talk to the supervisor.
I think so.
All right, let's go to Jackie. Jackie, how you doing, Jackie? Jackie? Okay. Jackie is not there.
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Hello?
How you doing?
All right.
Good.
I have a couple questions.
Yes.
My son was arrested. Okay? My son was arrested, and when he went to jail, the police did not take his identification to his property. And I called the police several times and asked him, can my son get his identification? One time he told me, yes, meet him at District 1. When we get down there, it wasn't there. My second question is, why did they not take his identification to property room for when he be released, he can get his ID?
Okay, so what did the police officer do with the ID? Did
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. It's not at District 1. It's his cell phone and some money is at property on Broadway, but his identification is not being found.
And by identification, do you mean his driver's license?
No, his identification. He don't have a license.
So he has a state ID?
Yeah, state ID.
Well, let me ask you this. Is the property room, are they saying that they can't identify whose property it is because there's no state ID that goes with it?
No, they saying that the police did not turn his identification in when they arrested him.
Okay, but you say they did take it when they arrested him.
Yeah.
Okay, have you talked to the arresting officer?
Yeah, he's the one who told me that he would have it at District 1.
Okay, so when you went to District 1, did you see the officer or you just talked to somebody there?
Somebody there at the front desk.
Okay,
And they
you need to call and talk to that officer and tell him what time he needs you to be there to pick up the ID, because it's probably just a communications problem.
Right.
Okay,
That's what it sounds like to me.
I have another question.
Real quick.
My payee, right, she have a savings account and I have a checkings account. And I received a statement yesterday that $83.90 was transferred from my account to her account. She's saying she didn't do it. I talked to 4 representatives. The first 2 said that she had to sign an authorization to transfer that money. And the other 2 said it was done by telephone.
Yeah, there's definitely a problem with that situation. I mean, her personal account should not have anything to do with yours, and you know that.
Right.
So whatever steps you have to do to get this particular payee removed from handling your finances, I would take those steps right away.
Thanks for your call. We've got to move on. Let's see what Rose is talking about. Rose, how are you?
Hello, hi Lincoln.
How you doing?
Lisa.
Hi.
What's your question?
Okay, I really don't have a question, but I'm gonna make it a question, okay?
Okay.
Okay, Lisa, we're having a problem out here in Bond Hill. You know, it's gonna be like a blight thing, and I talked to you about this before. I made a recommendation, and I wanted all the people in Bond Hill to go down to Central Parkway. I'm just kind of putting it out on the radio again and the TV, to go down to Central Avenue, to 805 Central Avenue on Wednesday, to make sure that they get there so we won't be blighted out there trying to make St. Aloysius a business place and take, you know, when they start doing this, making one place a business place.
Yeah, I heard about that. Why do you want them to go to Central? Why not go over to City Council?
Well, they're having a meeting.
Okay, there's a meeting there. Okay.
Yeah, they're having this meeting there, and so they have it a map of all of the streets that they're talking about. And I think, you know, it's even like almost in Norwood. They have Carolina's all the way over to Oberlin, Joseph.
Well, have
Yarmouth.
you talked to Lakita Cole? She is the city council person who lives in Bond Hill. So what is she saying about this? Is she agreeing with this or what?
I have not talked to her.
Okay, well, she would be a good place to start to see if you can stop it. How do you stop it? Or she may be in favor of it. So then I don't know what you can do.
Yeah, we don't know either,
Yeah.
but we're going to...
That's a good thing. You should find out where she stands on this.
Yeah, well, that's the reason I'm trying to get everybody to go down and, you know, just show up, you know,
All right.
and show up as a group, you know, as a body.
When is the meeting?
And, you know, that beats more than one person.
When
you
is
know.
the meeting? When does the meeting take place? Tomorrow?
No, it's the 19th on Wednesday.
Wednesday. At what time?
I think it's 1 o'clock.
1 o'clock, 805 Central Avenue.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for your call.
And thank you.
All right. We've got time for maybe one or two more calls. Let's go to Peggy. Okay, Peggy, how you doing?
Good morning, Lisa. Good morning, Lincoln.
Good morning.
Pretty good.
Great. I have a question. Last Saturday, I got off from work at 2:30 in the morning, and I went to stop at United Dairy Farmers to get some gas. And I went in to pay for the gas, and I normally don't get gas there. But anyway, I came out, and it was sprinkling, and the thing that they put the gas in the ground, they pumped the gas in the ground. I slipped and fell on that. Well, I hurt my hand real bad. It started to bruise and was bleeding everywhere. I pumped the gas in the car, and I went back in the dairy. Well, they couldn't talk to me then because they were so crowded and so busy. And I got a rag out of the trunk of my car because there was blood everywhere. And one little girl in there put a Band-Aid on it. But my question is, do I have a case here?
Sure sounds like it. Again, I think the first thing to do when you think you have a case is call an attorney, talk with that attorney, and you know, if you feel you have a case, have them contact the legal division for that corporation and file a claim.
And they should have some videotape of that. They usually have the tapes running so they can catch people stealing gas.
So they do have cameras in it?
They should.
Oh, I'm sure they do.
Most of them do.
Good.
Okay?
Thank you very much.
All right, thanks for your call.
Uh-huh.
All right, boy, we're just about out of time. That went real
Wow,
fast,
that's
Lisa
quick.
K. Crawford. A lot of people need legal advice.
Absolutely, Lincoln. I'm glad to be able to be here with you and give this service. I mean, attorneys are supposed to find ways to give back, and thank you for allowing me this opportunity to be here to do that today.
All right, and if someone wants to reach you, what's your number?
My phone number is 651-4222.
651-4222. Attorney Lisa K. Crawford at your service. And you've been a great help today, and we appreciate it. Of course, I'll have you fill in for me again sometime.
Thanks, I appreciate that.
But we'll have to have you again for free legal advice like this.
I don't
Maybe
mind.
we'll have a little more time to do it because the phone lines were blowing up. All right.
good thing.
Thank you, Lisa K. Crawford.
Thank you, Lincoln.
All right, we'll take a quick break. And we'll come back to give you the talk of the town, find out what's coming up at noon, what's coming up later tonight on It's 38 and WOTH. We'll take a quick break, and we'll come right back with the talk of the town in a moment. And we're back live, Lincoln Ware Live. I used to love that show, Mad About You. That's a pretty good show, and you can always see it right here on It's 38. Hey, coming up at noon today, right here on It's 38, How to Go on a Date in Queens, starring Jason Alexander and Allison Eastwood. That's at noon today, right here on It's 38. And if you love this show so much you want to see it again, there's a rebroadcast on WOTH Channel 25 tonight at 8 o'clock. That's right, tonight at 8 o'clock you can see a rebroadcast of this show, or you can either go to the website, 1230thebuzz.com. There's a link to the WBQC website, and you can watch all the episodes of this show. You'll be able to see this show around Tuesday. You can download it, take a look at it. If something you missed, you want to get a phone number or something, you can just look at the show starting Tuesday. It'll be on the website. Coming up at 9 on WOTH Channel 25, Curse of the Black Dahlia. And that's at 9 o'clock tonight following the rebroadcast of this show. Don't forget, you can check me out Monday through Friday from 10 till 1 on 1230 The Buzz. 1230 The Buzz. Check me out Monday through Friday, 10 to 1. And if you want to call me, just call me at 679-6028. Leave a voicemail, and I'll try to return your call, try to help you out with your situation. That's 679-6028. Just give me a call, leave a message, and we'll hook you up. But like I say, tell your friends if they missed this show and they want to see it, just log on to WBQC.com, click on the episode you want to see, and you can watch it right there on your computer. You can watch Lincoln Ware Live. If you or if you listen to my show on the web, there's an icon there you can click on, and they'll give you a link to the website right here at the TV station, and you can watch Lincoln Ware Live. Next week, my guest, David Pepper, County Commissioner David Pepper will be my guest, and he's in favor of the jail tax, and that's going to be a big issue coming up in November, so you don't want to miss the show next week, 10 o'clock right here, Lincoln Ware Live. David Pepper, my guest. We'll see you next week right here on It's 38.